In product development, there's a saying, "You are not your user." Some of you might be familiar with it, and that becomes especially important with mobile, where so much of the interaction between the user and the product, the client and the product, is through this phone. In journalism, we often have a big problem with this. It's hard for us to understand that relationship. So Sam and I often have to really emphasize that to make sure people realize that it's not power users or super users who are consuming this journalism. It's actually real people. I'm curious to what you all think about that. Sam, why don't you start a little to talk about how we think about that when it comes to mobile?
Yeah, that's been a big shift for us. We're often, our editors, their job is to sit there and stare at the home page all day long, and now the mobile screen also. So when a story has been there since lunchtime, all the way through dinner, they think, oh, it's a stale story, everybody knows it, because they're programming for themselves. They're not realizing that most people, if they check once a day, that's fantastic. And we developed a cooking app a year or two ago, which is great. You should look at it if you haven't seen it. But the way that our product manager thought about it, she went into the kitchens of real people around the country and saw that when they use recipes on their iPad, their fingers are covered in butter or oil, and they've got to unlock the thing, and it's this really annoying little wrinkle in cooking. So they developed the iPad cooking app so that when it's on, it never goes dark. It stays on the screen and overrides that auto lock system. And like those tiny little features that make real people, they make their lives easier, I think that's what makes the mobile experience work.
We're like, oh, well, this is exactly how someone would use it, or it's intuitive, or understand exactly what you mean. And then you actually take it into the people who are really using it, and you learn a whole different thing about how they're engaging with the content, their interpretation of it, and then even just how they want to use it in the hotel. Is it being presented in a way? And that's where the context stuff became such an important point for us, of like, how and when presenting these things happen. And you can't learn that if you don't actually engage with your users to give you feedback.
For us, our biggest push and pull comes from the medical community in the home, because as things are described to you by your doctor, everything is medical terminology. It's your blood glucose level. It's about your hypoglycemic and hyperglycemic symptoms. And when you go into the home, it's your blood sugar, it's your highs, it's your lows. You might not feel shaky or have to pee. A kid would say, I feel wonky, or I don't feel well. And so what we do is we have to spend a lot of time taking sort of what is the medical terminology and the medical jargon and translating it through the context of what we're hearing our users say and what we're hearing them do.